So, in response to Hellenic Prince, I've always thought that Protestantism may not have come about if St. Ignatius' writings were in the Bible. And I said, in response to him, I said, damn, I forgot to add 3 letters of his epistles, or I forgot to add 3 of his epistles. But I think if Protestants had the Didache, they could not exist. And this turned into a long diatribe of loaded questions of like, there are no good Protestants, why so much hate, blah blah blah. And I'll put the exact comment up here. And that I never took the time to see anybody else's point of view. Which I don't know where this is coming from. I've kept the political situation of Northern Ireland off the channel, since it brought me in conflict, and I have another channel where I deal with that. But with the Protestants, I believe in Christianity, right? And I believe that Protestantism is a desiccated form of what Christianity, of Christianity. It was Christianity, and then it, through Roman Catholicism, 500 years of papal rule, and then of these factions, you get Protestantism. What is Protestantism? It's protesting the church. And why did I see 20 people come to Orthodox? Oh, well, over 20 people come to Orthodoxy within 2 years. They all came from Protestantism. And I'm not including, I'm specifically not including the few Buddhists, the Jew, and the Baha'i, and the atheists that came to Orthodoxy. But over 20 Protestants. Protestantism destroys the people. This is what I see it doing. And this stuff, are you afraid that the Orthodox and Catholics might see that there are some good Protestants? And then there's this hint of me being racist where he says, well, I even have Native American blood in me. I'm Arab, Latino, and Irish. My grandmother was mestiza, so I have Native American blood in me. It's just Native Americans from South America. So I don't know what that is, and I have Islamic and Catholic family members, and I also have family members that are Protestant. It's because I love the people who are Protestants. And their twisting and suffering I despise, because they are starving to death. And everybody who I've ever known come from Protestantism and go into Orthodoxy and actually become Orthodox. Actually, you know, it's not really become, it's not just like that, but it's almost like slow, like osmosis, like gradually changing, like when you put a carrot or a piece of celery in like food coloring, where it gradually fills up. They wind up filling up with the fullness, and they breathe a sigh of relief. Oh God, it's so, you know, weight off my shoulders. They finally feel free. They finally feel that there is grace. They finally feel that, oh, I don't have to do all the work. Because the way, and it's not the Lutherans, it comes from Calvinism, where there's this little twist where it says, you know, faith alone, and then twists it to where it actually is your own works. You're doing good works to prove it to yourself, or it's license, and then they'll sing hymns that are very modern, but they're completely unbiblical. If you were to read one book of the Bible, just any book, and read it all the way through, you would be like, oh, we can't say that, that's blasphemous. So not knowing the gift of Scripture that was given to us, being totally deficient on that, being totally deficient upon worship. And I'm not saying that their heart, that they don't love God in their heart, or they're not as close to Christ as I am. They might be closer. In fact, I know some Protestants that are more Christian than I am when it comes to their heart. But the fact that they are drowning, it is Protestantism. I don't want to murder them. See, I think if Protestants had the Didache, they could not exist. What, we would murder them? No, if Protestants, they would no longer be Protestants. I mean, look at where the Eucharist and baptism is talked about in Scripture. But it's like gouging out your own eye, blinding yourself to it, so it can't mean that because it's too Catholic. It's this built-in hate, right? And finally, the Orthodox and the Catholics are kicking back at Protestantism after onslaught. I knew people I went to an Anglican church, mind you. I actually was technically Protestant for a few years. That were still reading Joyce Meyer's books, or they'd be speaking in tongues in Mass, and people be like, not in Mass, not like a Catholic Mass, but in a huge group. People are like, well, what's wrong with that? That's the exact problem, that what's wrong with that, the relativistic postmodern garbage. When St. Paul says, this is not allowed, and it becomes a common practice, and it becomes something that you say, well, we're doing this for God, when the Scriptures tell you they exactly condemn that, not allowed, not, it's prohibited. And that becomes your focal point of worship, of basically bucking against Scripture. There's a real problem there. And no wonder there is decimation within their spiritual life. It's horrible, and some of these people have a purer heart than I do. It's because my heart aches for these people. My heart bleeds for the girl who poured a can of gasoline on herself and lit herself on fire because her mom was still sick even after she gave $1,000 to Benny Hinn. Because the phone line, the lady that was doing the phone lines, who was a propagandist for Benny Hinn, told her that she didn't have enough faith. It is this kind of murderous heresy that I'm against, not for the good things of Protestantism, and there are many, and I've talked to you about them. The person who did this, I've mentioned them many times. So this belligerent attack, this hate-filled ramble, guised as concern for my hate, where it was very personal and directed. I talk about Protestantism in general, heresies. Did I ever come at you? Did I ever say there was anything deficient with your faith? Never. But yet, again, this is another fruit of Protestantism, the withered fruit of Protestantism, where people just, and they go straight at the person. They'll just, oh, well, you did this and you did that. This is the fruit of Calvinism. A sappy, soft, passive-aggressive, well, what about this? What, speaking in soft tones instead of speaking plainly and speaking people in love. Because I have nothing against you. But obviously you're harboring a lot of this against me. Again, I don't judge people. I say this is what the church says, this is what the church is against. This is heresy. The individuals I don't hold anything against, and I don't store up memories of past wrongs. You want to know why I think why I don't like Protestantism? It's because it bears this type of fruit. And I wish it were gone. And we need to help people. Just like the Jehovah's Witness and the Mormons. Love those people, but the structures are abusing them. Jehovah's Witness and the Watchtower Organization and the Mormon prophets are abusing their people. So it's not hatred for individuals, like some people might have. It's not liking the desecration of what Scripture says. and the poisoning of people. Which I don't know where this is coming from. I've kept the political situation of Northern Ireland off the channel since it brought. So, in response to Hellenic Prince, I've always thought that Protestantism may not have come about if St. Ignatius' writings were in the Bible. And I said, in response to that, I said, damn, brought me in conflict, and I have another channel where I deal with that. But with the Protestants, I believe in Christianity, right? And I believe that Protestantism is a desiccated form of what Christianity, of Christianity. Damn, I forgot to add 3 letters of his epistles, or I forgot to add 3 of his epistles, but I think if Protestants had the Didache, they could not exist. And this turned into a long diatribe of loaded questions of like, there are no good Protestants, why so much hate, blah blah blah. And I'll put the exact comment up here. And that I never took the time to see anybody else's point of view